So hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be doing an unboxing of a new Sony A6700. Alright, this is very exciting. So this is not a sponsored video. This was purchased with my own money. So we're going to be taking a look at it. We're going to compare it a little bit to the a7C and to the ZV-E10, which are both very similar cameras. Alright, so let's go ahead and open up the box here. We'll take a look. So we see we've got your typical budget Sony packaging, nothing special about this one. Got your orange Sony box, we got the picture on the side, we've got the writing on the left, the right, and we got the Sony A6700 in big white letters. So let's go ahead and open it up and check out what's inside. Alright, so we've got our usual Sony documentation, multiple languages, miscellaneous paperwork, nothing special here, standard lens packaging material. And then as far as accessories go, we've got looks like our standard Sony neck strap, which I never use, but it's always nice to get one. I'm just going to put this one away and save it. You never know when you might have use for another neck strap, but again, standard Sony stuff there. Now it looks like we got a little more paper in here, so we've got additional documentation. Looks like the warranty information here. Yeah, we got our warranty, and let's just get rid of that. And what's this little thing here? We've got a little protection plan pamphlet. Nice. Scan the QR code. Well, we're not going to bother right now. Let's see what's in this little sack here. Little plastic thing, not very heavy. Let's take a look and see what it is. Alright, looks like a little snap-on eye cup for the EVF. Give you a little bit of better vision while looking through that thing, so that's kind of cool. Let's put that aside. And what's in here? Oh, battery. I like these batteries. These are the bigger batteries. Same battery as in the A7C, bigger than the one in the ZV-E10. Both of which we'll be comparing to this camera shortly. So let's just look under here, see if we can get this little thing out. These little plastic, cardboardian sorts are always a pain. Nothing underneath. Alright, let's just put that aside. Alright, so here we go. Last but not least, a little magical mystery thingy. Here we go. What's inside? Yes, it is indeed the Sony A6700 camera. Alright, so let's just hold this thing up here and take a quick look at it. So as you can see, it's a rangefinder style of camera with the viewfinder on the left versus in the center. Whether you like that style, I think, is somewhat open to a personal aesthetic. I happen to like it because I prefer to push my nose off to the side rather than it mashed into the back of the screen, but that's just me. Looks like we have a nice screen here. We've got the side flip open. We do not have the fully articulated screen that go up, down, and left and right. This is the left-right screen, which I don't actually like. If I had to pick one, I would prefer the up and down screen versus the left-right screen, but this one is certainly satisfactory. We've got kind of your typical Sony layout on the buttons. We got an extra custom button there on the side. We got the battery door. Got a nice grip. That's certainly one of the first things I can tell here is the grip is, it's nice to see a decent grip on these little cameras. Not that the A6700 is that little, but, you know. So let's go ahead and plug this thing on here, snap this thing on. So we'll just figure out what the orientation is here. It looks like it goes in, I've got it in backwards, I think. There we go. Yeah. All right, just push this on and it'll snap right in there. So I can just find the groove. There we go. So now we have a nice little eye cup extension, or just the eye cup in general, extending the viewfinder. So that's great. That adds a little bit, I think, of an aesthetic look to it, which is nice. Just spinning it around here. We've got that front dial, which you can use with your finger, which is great. Most of the small Sony cameras haven't had that in the past. That's sort of a new thing. Let's go ahead and see if we can get this battery in. Just got to line up the contacts. I think it's this way. Maybe it's this way. No, it's definitely this way, but I just got to figure out where it goes in here. All right, there we go. Battery's in. Flip the latch. We're looking good. Yeah, the handling on this is pretty nice. That grip does really make a big difference. Usually I have to use some sort of cage with these Sony cameras, the small ones, just to give a better grip. But this one is pretty nice. Let's take a look at it and compare it to the Sony A7C, which is a very similar camera. The A7C is full frame, but they're a similar style of cameras with the EVF on the left, as you can see. The A7C does not actually come with that eye cup extension. I had to buy one, sort of an aftermarket one that doesn't fit that well, but is okay. I don't have it on right at the moment. But you can see these two cameras are very, very similar in terms of sort of their size. And they feel about the same weight too. They're very close. Again, the A7C is a full frame camera, and the 6700 is a APS-C camera. So the sensors are different, and the A7C does have an older sensor. It's an older camera, a few years old. Still a good camera, great camera, but yeah, it's definitely the full frame. So you can see that the A7C doesn't have that front dial on it, and the grip on the A6700 is definitely a little bit bigger. Gives a little bit more. The back setup is very similar. The A6700 has a couple more custom buttons, which is always great when you have that those extra buttons that you can use to sort of set up however you want. One of the nice things about the Sony cameras is how customizable they are, but you can really see how similar these two cameras are. You really have to look to see. The major thing is that grip. The grip size is definitely bigger. But that's like from a profile point of view, that really is the major difference between the two cameras. They're almost twins of one another. Alright, so let's go ahead now and compare it to the ZV-E10. So the ZV-E10 is also a slightly older camera, a couple years old now. It is an APS-C sensor, similar to the A6700. Now this one you can definitely see a substantial difference in terms of the size. Unlike the A7C, the ZV-E10 is definitely a much more compact build. You can see it's substantially narrower, and it is not as long as the A6700. Again, neither one has a lens on right now, so you're just seeing the body. The grip is substantially smaller on the ZV-E10 than on the A6700. The weight is pretty considerable. I don't know exactly what the weight is between these two, but you definitely have a much smaller camera to work with this ZV-E10. So, even though the A6700 is going to be a better camera, it's substantially more expensive, which even 2 years, 3 years later makes a difference. Has a new sensor, which is going to make a difference. You can tell by just looking at the size here that if you really want a small portable camera to carry around with you, that ZV-E10 is still going to have a lot to recommend it, because you can certainly see how much smaller it is than both the A7C and the A6700. Now, speaking of lenses, let's go ahead and attach some lenses to these three bodies. So this is a Sigma 16mm f1.4, which is a very common lens used with the ZV-E10. This is kind of a budget package, although it's still a $1,000 package. But this is a very common setup. I'm using this wide-angle 16mm Sigma with the ZV-E10 body. So let's just put this on and just sort of check out the size, because that's kind of, again, what we're comparing here is just the difference in these cameras. So you can see the ZV-E10 with that Sony, with that Sigma 16mm is, it's a big lens on a small camera. And while this particular setup works very well as far as recording wide angle, obviously you have a pretty big Sigma lens hanging off of a very small camera body, which may not be the best solution. So then we can look here at a similar lens that is well suited for the a7C. So this is the Sony FE 1.8 20G lens. And this would be a similar lens to the Sigma in terms of the fact it's a wide angle fast lens. So we're going to go ahead and attach this one now to the a7C, and again just sort of get a sense of how the lens and the body work together, the kind of package they create. So we can see here that again this is a fairly bulky, I'm not going to say bulky because the lens, the Sony lens, is certainly smaller than the Sigma lens, but they're pretty comparable when you add in the size of the a7C versus the ZV-E10. Even though the lenses are a little bit smaller on the a7C, you definitely have a very similar profile. So now on the a6700, we're going to take this other wide angle lens. So this is the E-mount 1.4 15mm G. This is an APS-C lens, and we're going to go ahead and attach it to the a6700 and just kind of see how it all fits together in comparison to the other. So you can see here that when you put this lens on the a6700, it actually the overall profile is actually a little bit smaller than either of those other two. Now obviously you could use these are all E-mount lenses. You could use any lens on any camera. I'm just kind of picking sort of what would be a common a common lens body combination that's sort of well made for each other, and sort of how those compare to each other. So what you really have here, I would say, is I'm not going to say a clear winner, but this a6700 with the high quality Sony lens, the 1.4 15mm G lens, definitely is the smallest profile of the three. And again, the actual image quality is not something we're looking at here. Obviously, you have a full frame versus an APS-C. You have a newer sensor versus an older sensor. You have full frame lenses versus APS-C lenses. You have old lenses versus new lenses. So there's going to be more to investigate when looking at these three particular combinations of camera, lens, and bodies, which I will be doing in the upcoming weeks as I sort of put this new a6700 through its paces and sort of take a look at how it compares with exactly these other two lens and body combinations. So stay tuned for that, and I hope you enjoyed this quick introductory look at a brand new a6700 APS-C camera. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.